Look, this video is meant for the people that are earlier in their media career. So if they are just getting into photography, if they're just getting into videography, if they're new to the industry as a whole, this is gonna be the video for you. Here's the thing. When most people get into photography, video, or the media industry as a whole, they typically go on buying rampages or at the very least shopping sprees where they don't necessarily buy a bunch of stuff, but they will go and look or they'll window shop on Facebook Marketplace, Adorama, B&H, Amazon, any source that they can find to get used and new photo and video gear. They're gonna go and they're gonna do a ton of window shopping and they're gonna get complete analysis paralysis and never be able to make a buying decision. Or the flip side is that they spend too much on things that they don't actually need. Here's what's going on. Every single person in the world who's selling something will be able to give you a scenario in which that product will be innately incredibly useful. They will always be able to tell you what you're missing out on and what problem you're gonna face by not having their product. Here's where that can become an issue for newer people like yourself. You just don't know anything. And I don't mean that negatively or as a flack towards you. I'm simply saying that because you haven't been in the industry long enough to know what you actually need. I haven't even been doing it that long either, but I've got a few years under my belt and I've learned a lot and I've bought a lot of things that I have not needed. So speaking from some experience, I'm just trying to keep you from making the same mistakes that I did. Now, back to my statement about anybody being able to convince you of any problem/solution thing as far as selling a product to you, and they'll be able to tell you any scenario that you'll need the product, and if you don't have it, you're gonna have all these different problems. It's gonna be crazy and your freaking world's gonna blow up and nothing's gonna go right. You have to understand the difference between when you are actually legitimately stunted by a problem. So your growth has stopped. Your growth has come to a halt. You are not learning anything new and you are unable to push yourself beyond where you are at from an actual physical or technical limitation. If you are physically unable to accomplish a task with the absence of a product or piece of tech or something in hand, or you're unable to grow as like a media professional, that might be a good time to actually go and purchase a product that's going to solve a specific problem that you have that is then going to allow you to continue up, charge more, produce better results, and feel better about your process as a whole. However, as photographers and videographers, myself included, because I do this all the time, and I'm making this video because I have to remind myself constantly, you don't always need the thing, you don't always need the piece of tech, you don't always need the program, you don't always need the thing, whatever the thing is, you don't need it. Frankly, your life is gonna be better without it because it's just gonna be another thing holding you back. Because eventually, when you accumulate enough stuff, you are not going to go out and create because you're gonna think of all the different things and all the different pieces of tech and stuff that you could use and what you need. And eventually, that itself is going to become a limiter in your growth because you have too many things to think about that ultimately don't serve you. A few examples of when I got stuff that I didn't really need. Here, let me just show you. This entire set of gels, of these colored gels, they're these colored sheets that go on top of lights. I don't need these. I've probably used them twice, but otherwise really are not helpful. Oh, this freaking thing. This big ass Ronin M. Useless. Completely and totally useless to me. I bought it because I thought that I was getting a killer deal when I purchased it and thought that it was gonna solve all of my problems, and it solved none of them. I didn't do nearly enough research on the product to learn about what its flaws were, and ultimately it became more of a hindrance than anything, and I'm not even able to sell it for what I bought it for, which was ridiculously cheap, but no one freaking wants them, and I now know why there were so many of them on the market, which should have tipped me off in the first place. Anyway, that's just a couple examples of when I bought things that like really weren't that helpful. Now, how can you actually determine what is a necessity or what is stunting your growth versus what is just a nice to have? Honestly, this is gonna come down to quite a bit of self-awareness. You really have to understand yourself, your buying habits, your emotional patterns. You're gonna have to understand why you're attracted to certain things that you are. Is it because of a hypothetical dream scenario that looks really good in theory but might not actually happen? You're just missing the might not actually happen part and focusing on the it would be so great if. You're gonna have to really understand yourself, and it's gonna suck because you're gonna have to go introspective on it, look at it and be like, am I actually limited, or am I just limiting myself based on the desire to acquire this item. I think there was this quote by Alex, I think it was by Alex Hormozi, and he said, desire is a contract with ourselves to be unhappy until we get what we desire. And so if you say, oh, I would love to have this, or I really, really want this, or this is, like, I have to have this, you're making a contract with yourself to be unhappy until you have acquired that thing or achieve whatever you were talking about. And I love this because it goes right into this world of buying gear, selling gear, acquiring gear, you know, whatever, new tech, softwares, everything. Because you really have to look at yourself and be like, am I just telling myself that I'm not gonna do good or that I can't do something without this thing? When photographers for years and years and years have been accomplishing the exact thing that you wanna do without that new piece of tech, that new piece of tech might make it a little easier, but that doesn't mean that these other people weren't able to do it. They were able to do it, they just got a little creative. The name of the game here being just a little bit of creativity. Now here's the thing, if you have a little bit less of a budget constraint and you have a lot more capital, you've got your money, you're doing all right, and you've got a lot more money to just kind of throw at this thing, you can probably buy a little more frivolously. However, you still should take the same introspective approach of, do I actually need this or is it just a nice to have? I try to separate this from also, what is the best equipment to get the job done? And if you are gonna compile that stuff, if you're not restricted by budget or have a budget for this, you can do that. You can get the best stuff to get the job done in the one area you need. But if you're rocking a budget, or even if you're not rocking a budget, you just have to look and be like, is this going to limit me by not having? Yes, okay, is it that's limiting or the lack of it that's limiting, or is it me limiting myself as a result of not having the thing? Ultimately, this all boils down to lack of education and lack of experience. If you haven't been in it long enough or you haven't done enough research, you also can't do this is funny because you can't do too much research before you actually get in the field, because then you're gonna get into analysis paralysis and you're gonna find 10,000 articles that tell you why you need these 10,000 products before you start photography. You know, don't take a picture before you buy this or whatever. These salespeople are really, really good at this. But if you're uneducated and you're also inexperienced, lack of education combined with lack of experience is a total killer. You have to just get out there, trial and error. If you want to try to accomplish something, challenge yourself to accomplish it without the product that you think you desperately need. That is how you're gonna get some real killer creativity out of that brain of yours. And I think you'll be a lot prouder of what you produce as a result. And you'll have more of a story to tell. So ultimately, this all breaks down to, do you really need the piece of gear? Do you really honestly need it? I don't know. Let me know in the comment section below. Tell me your scenario, tell me your situation, tell me what pieces of gear you're thinking about getting, why you're thinking about getting it, and I'd be more than happy to help any of you guys out in that decision-making process. My name is Che. You can find me on all platforms with the 5 next to my name, Che, or Che Not on all platforms. I appreciate your time. I'll see you in the next video. Bye.